Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Phizcast. I know I've been missing for a couple of days, but in the long run, if you discover me at episode 35 or whatever, this will have been uploaded whether or not you were here for it. So, in the end, does it really matter? Anyway, how are you doing? I'm doing pretty well. It's late right now. I mean, not like super late, but late enough that I'd consider it late. And I realize I just kind of need to record. I haven't done it in a while, so just decided to find something to talk about and stick with it. I probably ran through 4 topics, which honestly I should write down. I should write a list of topics that I should talk about. Maybe make a poll. I don't know, that'd be kind of neat. Write down a list of topics that I randomly think of in the moments leading up to recording. Because honestly, I think that'd be a lot better for motivation. Because when I have a list like that, I kind of think about it a lot, and it leads to me like remembering it, because I'm like, oh, I have to check this off, and then bam, and then move on like that. Lists are very good. If you are forgetful, make lists, keep reminders. It will be wonderful for who you are. And I can very well confirm that, because I am a person that forgets very often, as I've so helpfully demonstrated. Anyway, hello. Today I figured it might be interesting to talk about corruption. Not like, real-world political corruption or whatever, because I hate politics, but corruption like power, I guess. Power or responsibility, ego inflation, that sort of corruption. And corruption is scary. It's very scary. Because everyone thinks that they are strong of mind and strong of heart until they get put in a situation where they have to choose between the power for themselves or sacrificing power for a greater good that doesn't affect them at all. But it affects a large group of other people. Positively, of course. And it's interesting, because nobility is choosing the greater good in spite of the sacrifice that you are making. And corruption is basically feeding off of greed and self-gain. Now, self-gain is very prominent in this world, unfortunately, especially right now. I feel like a lot of the people out there are self-centered. And I know many people that aren't, that do put others first, and I appreciate them very much for that. But I do know that it can be hard to sacrifice something that you have or that you love or that you enjoy in order to give someone else happiness that you can't necessarily see all the time, something that doesn't affect you at all. It presents a fair bit of interesting scenarios where corruption can lead to the overall danger of everyone around you. Of course, this is rare, because I'm going to guess that most of the people watching don't have any sort of power, or substantial power. But this kind of goes all the way down to, being a drum major in a high school band and letting that sort of control get to you. Or even, being the leader of a group project, all the way down to that, where it has to be your way, or everyone else has it wrong. And I believe that's not how it should be, because that can be corruption. Perfectionism or being controlling, stuff like that. It's corruption. It's not good. It's self-centered gain. And I kind of bring this up because I've been getting into Injustice recently, which is the DC whatever. I'm not very educated on it at all, but long story short, Superman decides to take over the world. Bingo. Of course, that is an extremely heavy TLDR, but it's corruption. It's power. He's extremely, extremely powerful. Very, very few people have the means to stop him in any way, shape, or form, and it's just about corruption. Of course, it is, in his mind, about the greater good, but I feel like that's justified very often. That very often that's what is used to justify being corrupt. Sorry, I cannot speak. It's for the greater good. Now, that is where it comes in extremely important, because there's the greater good from the perspective of those who are corrupt, and there is the objective greater good. The greater good that affects people in, like, let's see, how can I bring up a sort of example? Where if you are living paycheck to paycheck, and you don't have much money to spare, you are barely eating, and having to save kind of everything for yourself. Now, $100 that you use to donate to someone else, they use that to eat. And from that, a long chain of butterfly effects happen that end up with them being in a better spot. Now, that is a greater good. You sacrificed $100 from your paycheck to paycheck life, one that doesn't leave much room for sacrifice. I mean, that leaves a ton of room for sacrifice and not much room for generosity. And you gave someone else a better life. That is the objective greater good. Now, there's the greater good of a presented scenario. There's one really good example that took place around 1940 that I can't bring up here on YouTube, but the general idea of that, I'll talk about it without being too specific, I guess. The idea of that was, theoretically, it was a greater good, getting rid of those who were enemies in order to build up a country and this is hard. In order to build up a country, a nation, into a better place. However, it was by extermination of those who were thought to be problems by one corrupt individual. And that is where it is differentiated. Because one corrupt individual convinced millions of others that one particular, I guess a couple particular groups of people were a problem. And so they wanted to get rid of them. And that's not good. That is where it is no longer a greater good, but a self-centered gain. Even though it was portrayed as something that would benefit the public. That would be a greater good. And everyone believed it. Yeah, I'm sure I'm wildly underqualified to talk about that, but I don't know. Again, I should probably update my whole channel mantra, because it's generally just offering my perspective. I reiterate that that what I say is not to be taken for fact by any means. It is simply meant to open up a different point of view. I had a discussion question today about that. It was interesting. It was regarding satire and satirical essays, and if they're persuasive or not. But I generally take satire at face value, and that it's just funny, sarcastic, slap in the face type of arguing, I guess. I don't know. Yeah. Well, here we are. I haven't quite made it to 10 minutes yet. I hadn't even made it to 9. But I had to take a long pause because my brother walked upstairs and don't like recording in front of people. So, yeah. That could be a whole episode, though. I could do that. That would be good, I think. But yeah, there's that. Alright. So I guess I try and do a TLDR sort of thing at the end. Long story short, corruption. Try and think for others. That's a horrible way to say that. Try and think in such a way that you put others before yourself. Don't live in such a way that you are the only one benefiting from your decisions. Try and open up your mind. Open your mind to the possibility that you may benefit from other people benefiting as well. For it is better to give than to receive. Alright, that might as well be 10 minutes. I do so appreciate you coming back and joining me. I need to find some way to advertise this, because if I want this to go anywhere, I need to tell people that I do this, because I just don't for some reason. I know 85% of the people that are subscribed to me, but either way, thank you. If you enjoyed this, tell someone else about it. It would be nice for me. Alright, I appreciate you coming back and listening to my rambling. Anyway, this has been another episode of the Phizcast. I will see you when I see you. Bye-bye.